there's still news being made, still things being played, still people outside, still with me. I'm gonna stop right there while I can, cause hey, what's going on, bro? Hey, well, all of my bald heads that's into the culture, we are amidst another movement as we see now Mr. Roberto Suarez of the illustrious San Diego Padres, the closer of all closers who used to come out with all kind of music, who was almost a guaranteed 3 outs in those ninth inning, has now been relegated to the East Coast, still in the National League, but he is now officially a Atlanta Brave. And I think that's a good thing. The Braves definitely need to come on back to the good team that they were before your boy, before my man Ronald Acuna took his dive, before Marcell Ozuna kind of fell off a little bit, before Jurickson Profar's PED suspension, before all of these different instances, before they lost Max Fried and all that. But now they at least got somebody to close out on that side. So that's a good thing. And hopefully we can discuss that even more. It's a pleasure to see y'all today. I'm your boy, the real Vince Taylor, reporting live. And yes, the big news on the market for today is that Roberto Suarez will now be pitching for those Atlanta Braves with the newly hired manager, Walt Weiss, who's going to hopefully usher in a better year than 2025 for those Atlanta Braves. And I'm not going to lie, my first thoughts was to the Padres. I'm like, man, the Padres, okay, I get it. You got Mason Miller now, but you're trying to turn him into a starter, okay? This is one of the illest closers in the game right now. And so I hope this gives the Braves a little bit of a boost. Why don't we go ahead and let's discuss some of the details that go into this new deal that we are just now learning about. And let's see if it makes sense, guys. I have an article here on a site called Clutch Points by a man named Dan Fapiano that was just literally posted. It's called Braves Roberto Suarez agrees to $45 million contract in free agency. He is looking at, I think, 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's right, 3 years. So let's go ahead and talk about what this says. It's a really quick article, so I'm going to just breeze through it real quick so y'all can get the gist of what his contract entails. So as the Braves look to break back into the playoffs come 2026, Atlanta has agreed to terms with Roberto Suarez. I call it Roberto, Robert, whatever. And $45 million. Now you can use the details. After missing out on the playoffs in 2025, the Atlanta Braves are looking to ensure the same doesn't happen in 2026. In the latest move, the Braves have made an eye-opening decision to their back end of their bullpen. Atlanta side closer Roberto Suarez to 3 years, $45 million contract. Via Jeff Passan of ESPN, he is set to make $13 million, $16 million, and $16 million with no deferrals in his contract via John Paul Morosi of MLB Network. Suarez is coming to the Braves after leading the league with 40 saves as a member of the San Diego Padres in 2025. However, he won't be filling the same role in Atlanta. Before Suarez, the Braves re-signed Raisel Iglesias to a 1-year deal. He's expected to remain a closer in 2026 via Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. If Iglesias were to struggle, the Braves know they have a more than capable option to fill the role in Suarez, but at least entering the season, Atlanta wants him to prepare to be a set-up man, which I'm going to tell you the honest-to-God truth. That sounds shady to me. That's a little suspect. I don't know if I'm Roberto Suarez, I might be looking at you with the side eye like, hold up, so you want me to do what? Set up? For who? Right? You selling? Has he seen me? Has he seen me? All right, now I'm not tripping. Raisel is definitely he's a big deal, but Raisel's arm is not what Roberto's is. Roberto throws 100 with his eyes closed in his sleep. Raisel, he's a mid-90s guy. But hey, I consider this friendly team-on-team competition. It's a weird thing, though, to go from being a closer to being a setup guy. Not everybody can do it. We saw Mason Miller do it with the Padres last year with little to no difficulty. But we also saw Devin Williams struggle in Flushing We saw my man Ryan Helsley struggle. Excuse me, not in Flushing, but in the Bronx. We saw Ryan Helsley struggle in Flushing with the Mets. And so it's not always easy to go from being that guy. Keep in mind, there's a whole mentality that goes into this. When you're the closer, you get music, you come out. I know when this Ryan Helsley, who I personally saw at Busch Stadium, somebody told me in advance, said, "Oh, you never seen the Ryan Helsley close?" I was like, "Nah," and I didn't know what to expect. Sure enough, when Ryan Helsley came out, the stadium goes black, the lights go red, and then you get Ryan Helsley's song comes out. The whole old Helter is like what was this song? It was like Hell's Angels, or what was it? Stairway to Hell. It was a real cool song, but it's a whole vibe when these dudes get an opportunity to close. You're that guy. It's almost the same as when you are introduced to walk up to the plate. Keep in mind, pitchers don't walk up to the plate. They don't get no walk up to the plate music. It ain't no "Oh, time and I'm feeling good, burn." Ain't none of that for the pitchers. For the most part, they get a song to walk out to, and if they don't got all of the Durantula, like stuff like Joan for Durantula has for the Phillies and had with the Twins, then they just go out there with their music. But to not close means that you won't be those last 3 outs, so you're essentially feeling kind of like you've been demoted. All right, let's keep it real. Now, I know he's got 15 mil to his name each year, and even though it's not exactly split even 15, 15, 15, it's 13, 16, 16, it doesn't matter. The fact that he's not going to be closing anymore, to me, is a little weird. It's a little weird, but you can't take your guy, Raisel Iglesias, and be like, "Nah, man, you know what? You've been great the last few years, but we just signed this new guy, and he's going to go ahead and take your place." That's not a good look either. So I suppose this is what Walt Weiss has to do to secure the trust he needs for his squad. But I'm going to keep it real. I foresee, I'm going to call it right now, halfway through the season, I'm going to say around 70, 80 games, we're going to be looking at a possibility that Raisel Iglesias may find himself as the setup guy, as opposed to Roberto Suarez being the the 7th or 8th inning guy. Now, as for what happens, we're going to see. I frankly know this is not enough for the Braves. You got to give Chris Sale some more relief. He cannot be your only guy there. And I know they got a couple other pitchers, but ain't nobody up to the par like Max Fried was. And he's still doing his thing in New York. And they actually got Garrett Cole and them coming back. So I think that this is a good first step, but y'all need more bats and more arms. So hopefully y'all will be able to secure that in the days to come. But as of right now, this is definitely a positive first step. So I know they're happy in Atlanta, in Atlanta right now. This is a good move. And I do worry about the Padres, but with a dude like Adre Peller at the helm as GM, I think they're going to be all right. Now, I am just not getting back from the winter meetings, y'all. I had to go all the way to Orlando. I mean, it ain't like I live here or nothing, you know what I'm saying? And yes, it was pretty cool. I mean, from the moment you even walk in to the winter meetings, you get this overwhelming feeling that you in the right place. You where you supposed to be. They're filming the MLB Network shows right there in the lobby. Like as soon as you walk in the door after you turned in your key, this is the first thing that you see. You're like, "Oh, y'all gonna just tape a show right here in front of me." Okay, that's cool. And so that was definitely awesome. While I was there, I was able to interview a lot of folks that I was really happy about. Some folks I missed ever so slightly. Some folks I caught that I didn't expect to. But among some of my favorites, I do have to say it was really nice to get some of the folks that I had on my list out of the way. One of them was, a few of them were just other folks that were Black that also like to talk baseball. One of which consists of my homeboy, Russell Dorsey. Yeah, I called him my homeboy. I know we ain't really boys like that, but my man gave me some time. He's hella cool, and he's definitely hella informed, and he's an insider. So hopefully I get a chance to chop it up with him a little bit more. I got something coming from him in a little bit as well. Also got a chance to speak with the John Boyd crew, who I think is hella cool. Like, these are some young dudes that talk baseball in a younger generation. I think that these types of media outlets are necessary because a lot of these old cats, I'm not going to name names, but it feels like they don't necessarily have any interest in getting a new generation interested in the sport. And you can't do it the same way it happened for your generation. So these dudes do it the right way, in my opinion. I also got a chance to see some old I shouldn't say old, some OG players like Eric Davis, the big slugger out of Cincinnati, fast dude, had that weird bat wag. It's the homie Dusty Baker, who we know was the coach, the manager of over there. He was with the Giants and it was the Astros and the Cubs and all that. But definitely it was a big name, especially in the world of black. And I'm going to tell y'all a story about Dusty Baker in a second. Don't go nowhere, because it's hilarious. This dude is so funny. He now is a manager of a Nicaraguan team. And I asked him, I was like, do you speak Spanish? He's like, su poquito. And we had a whole convo about that. Also, look at these gentlemen. Cliff Floyd, the homie Xavier Scruggs. Xavier gave me an interview. Cliff gave me an interview. It was definitely a good weekend for all. So I'm happy to report that I did not feel like I was isolated while I was there. I just was a newcomer in the meetings, in the winter meetings, because this was my first time attending. Now, some of the big news that dropped while we were there, of course, we've already gone over it. The Pete Alonso deal rocked the world. I don't think that many people were necessarily expecting him to go to the Orioles. They knew it was possible, but it wasn't them expecting it. As a matter of fact, I'm almost certain they weren't expecting it. My homie Russell Dorsey, like I said, he actually talked to me about this subject, and he had some things to say, because when I was sitting there thinking about what was happening with Pete Alonso, I was wondering why he hadn't been offered a deal yet. Like, why are the Mets constantly, at least of the last few years, Steve Cohen seems almost annoyed at the thought that he may have to, or even have to consider signing Pete Alonso, who's been consistently giving them 20, 30 home runs a season, 40 if you're good. He's consistently at first. Now, I'm not going to lie. There's a couple flubs in there that people don't mention. Like, they don't like to mention the fact that Pete, yeah, he can do first base, but is he the best first baseman? Maybe not. Let's check that out above average. Also, let's not forget that some people do hold Pete Alonso accountable for the Kenta Maeda, not Kenta Maeda. Not Kenta Maeda. You know what I'm talking about. You know the picture. You know what I'm talking about. Oh my God, what is the picture name again? Oh my God, what is his name? Not Kenta Maeda, but his homeboy, Senga, Kodai Senga. The Kodai Senga injury, excuse me, brain fart. He threw the ball up to first base. Kodai Senga had to reach up and grab it and messed up his leg in the process, out for the bulk of the season as a result. And you saw what happened to the Mets pitching after halfway through the season, when they started falling off completely and ended up not making it into the playoffs and conceding, losing to the Miami Marlins in their last series, which ultimately got the Cincinnati Reds, led by Terry Francona and Ellie De La Cruz, to the playoffs for the first time in a few years. So that was interesting. Now, as for me, I felt like Pete Alonso should have been offered a deal by the Mets. It seems so weird. I think that their big issue was that he's a little older, that maybe he's in decline. They don't like to do all these years, but it feels like the Orioles are winning the offseason. Let's see what Russell has to say about why it is the Mets are so apprehensive about signing what some people considered their Mr. Met. Vince Taylor with MLB Bros Live with Russell Dorsey from Yahoo Sports. You know the man, the muscles, the afro. Let's go ahead and do it. Hey, Russell, man, thanks for joining me for a second.
Yeah.
Pete Alonso, still no news.
Yeah.
What do you think's going to happen?
I think when you talk to people around the industry, there's a belief that Pete Alonso is a good player, right? But it's just, how good is he at this point in his career? Like, is this the player he's going to be? I think sometimes when you're talking about a player in free agency, teams are projecting what you're going to be in the future. What does year 2 and 3 look like?
Yeah.
And for a lot of teams, I think they just think that Pete is who he is at this point. You look at a guy like a Kyle Schwarber coming off of a year where he's runner-up for NL MVP, hits career-high 56 home runs, and is the leader of that Phillies clubhouse. That's a player that's looked at in a different kind of caliber than another slugger like a Pete Alonso.
Can I say, just real quick, I wasn't expecting this, but I don't understand why. Like, Pete, it feels like he has to fight for his position like almost every year, and he delivers almost, at least for the last couple of years. Is it something that Steve Cohen, is he just doesn't want to secure Pete as another? I know they said they don't have to meet in person and all that. They want to give him a chance, but is there something there ever since the Soto deal that he just feels like perhaps he's not necessary?
I think it's less about how the Mets feel about Pete. I think the Mets love Pete. Pete's been there, been a really great Met. They're going to retire his number one day. But I think when you look at how other teams view Pete, I think that affects the market more than anything else. Where if you're the Mets, it's good business to say, all right, we're going to go figure out what your market is, and then let's come back and have a conversation. And I think one of the things that Pete's figured out over the last couple of years, especially last year when he had the qualifying offer, is like, I don't think his market is necessarily as strong as maybe him and Scott Morris have believed that it is.
Yeah.
Now with some of these teams that struck out on Schwarber, maybe they circle back to Pete, get some of that power in the middle of their lineup. But yeah, I can understand what you're saying, because you look at Pete Alonso as a player, run producer, hits the ball in the ballpark, right-handed power.
Still plays first base.
So right-handed power, which there's not a ton of in Major League Baseball. So he does have value. But I think when you're looking at overall for his position, what he does, and if he's this player for the rest of his career or not, if he's hit his peak, I think that's what teams are looking at.
Excuse me. I agree with what Russell's saying. He's making a lot of sense here. He's basically essentially saying it's not that the Mets didn't necessarily value him as much. It might just be that the other teams may be valuing him way more than the Mets are valuing him, which makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, the Mets aren't necessarily saying we don't want Pete Alonso. They're just saying we don't want to have to pay Pete Alonso what other people are trying to pay Pete Alonso. I don't know if that's the way to move about your business, but hey, that seems to be what happened. And as a result, it looks like we're not going to be seeing Pete Alonso in a Mets. Well, it looks like we will not be seeing Pete Alonso in a Mets uniform this upcoming season, which is a huge loss. I feel bad for Mets fans right now. These dudes just lost Brandon Nimmo. They just lost Pete Alonso. They lost Edwin Diaz, all within like a week or two span of time. It's almost like the team is just, they said, you know what? We tried. We tried, but we done trying. You know what I'm saying? We just gonna go ahead and let Juan Soto be the right fielder, the first baseman, the left fielder, the DH, and hey, maybe he'll close out a game in Edwin Diaz's stead as well. I don't know. I do know this much. I personally have a sneaky suspicion that the Juan Soto deal has caused a lot of this turmoil, and I have some facts to back this as well. Because let's remember, the 2024 Mets were the vibe. Right? They were the vibe. Oh my God. Get it, all that good stuff, right? The 2024 Mets were the vibe. Grimace, okay. Sandals, okay. Concerts after the game, okay. Pitchers after every home run, okay. These cats made it to the playoffs after going 0-5. Remember that whole saying from 0-5 to OMG, right? But now it just feels like the Mets are in shambles, and I blame the Soto deal. Now, hear me out. I don't blame Solo per se, although I think if I wanted to, I'd have some credence to do so. Because as of right now, it looks like there's trouble in paradise. And there actually have been articles written about the turmoil in the clubhouse with regard to leadership as the Mets go. So I'm going to go ahead and voice my opinion of why I believe that Juan Soto is single-handedly destroying the New York Mets. And it's not his fault. It's front office fault. It's management fault, perhaps. But Juan Soto definitely has something to do with it. And let me explain to you why. There was an article written not too long ago. It was in September. It was written by a man named Grant Young with the New York Mets on SI.com. And this is titled Francisco Lindor's Blunt Judgment of Soto's Personality Turns Heads. So in this instance, we're learning that somebody finally broke the silence on what was happening with Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor, we could all consider, at least on its face, the captain, the leader of the team. But evidently that wasn't necessarily what was communicated to them. And before Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo was considered the captain. And so then you sign Juan Soto, who is getting the most money of anybody in the entire Major League Baseball. And there's this three-way tie between who's going to be the captain. Mindy, where you at? Doesn't somebody come in and say, nah, here's what it is, and this is what it's going to be? Or do you just kind of let them sort it out? From what the articles are saying, there may have been a little tension, but it doesn't come out so obviously. You kind of have to read between the lines. It wasn't a Pete Alonso thing. Pete Alonso, I feel like he just wanted his pay. He just wanted to get his uniform. He just wanted to pull up, and there wasn't no problems. In fact, he said that he didn't really have no problems with Juan Soto. He was quoted in saying this exactly. Pete Alonso says, when he says, well, this is from an article. He says, when soon-to-be free agent slugger, this was from a few months back, Pete Alonso was asked about Soto's personality during a September 10th interview on the show, a NY Post baseball podcast with Joe Sherman and John Heyman. He says, hey, he's the same. He's just the same guy every day. He has been for me. I think he's just really quiet and reserved. He's focused and he just lives and breathes and eats baseball. That's really it. All right. Well, you can say that. That sounds all fine and dandy. But if you read between the lines, he's basically saying he don't really talk to none of us. He basically saying, look, he don't do none of the group stuff. You know, he don't. It sounds like he may not do the team dinners or the team golf when they go out of town. It sounds like he just like, look, bro, I ain't with y'all, man. I'm with me. I am the Mets, and that's not good for rapport if you're trying to build team momentum, team rapport. If you want to kind of get that synergy, you know, kind of the way that it feels like, you know, teams like the Dodgers and some would even say maybe even the Cubs have, where they're just fighting for the love of each other, you know. Some might even say that for the Yankees, but it doesn't stop there. That was what Pete Alonso says. But what does Frankie Lindor think? What does Frankie Lindor think? Well, this is what Frankie Lindor said in an article not long ago as well. Frankie said, and this is a little bit more potent than what Pete Alonso said. Let's check this out together, right? So Frankie basically says, he's away from the world, Lindor said of Soto's personality. It's him, his family, his little group, and then that's it. He comes in and out. He shares moments with us, but he just said it multiple times. I'm quiet. I just want to come in, win, do my thing. That's just who he is. He's just in and out, in and out. And that's perfectly fine. Is it? Is it perfectly fine? Because it don't sound like it's perfectly fine, Frankie. It frankly sounds like you was a little hot. Those were some heated words. All right. The words that I pick up on the most is little. His little group. Do you see that? Now, when black people say little, they be like, oh, I see you got your little girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I see you got you a little job. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I see you got your little show coming up. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like unintended, a backhanded compliment. It's like respectful disrespect. You know what I mean? It's like weird to hear something like that. You know, it's just a funny, just look at these words. It's just, you know, him, his family, his little group, and then that's it. That's a lot. His family? That's the whole reason he went to the Mets, because they treated his family right? His mom got like a credit card where she could buy however many clothes she wants. They got their own suite. The family is the reason why Juan Soto signed with the Mets. He was only off by $15 million. Yeah, I know you want to do all the math. It was $765 million for 15 years with the Mets and $760 for 16 years with the New York Yankees. And some people, oh, it's just $5 million. No, it's not. It's not just $5 million. That's a whole nother year of service for less money. And also, the New York Yankees want to stand up was like, nah, I can't get no suite. What are you talking about? We're the Yankees. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I think it is a little something significant. I frankly do truly believe that Juan Soto came in with I'm that guy energy. And he even came in with I don't need to know you energy. Like, I'm Juan Soto. Have you met me? If not, don't worry about it, because you're going to see my stats. And the funny thing is he didn't take off, right? He almost got booed a few times, even though he ended up getting his 40 homers and ended up getting his 30 stolen bases. He still was not necessarily that popular halfway through it because he sucked up the whole entire Mets payroll. They can afford to get Edwin Diaz. They can afford to bring back Alonso. They had to trade Brandon Nimmo. Now, don't get me wrong. I know they got Marcus Semien, and Marcus Semien ain't no bullshit. You know, he's a big deal, especially when the Rangers won the World Series a couple years ago. This dude's MVP caliber player, even though he's not in his prime. However, Nobody with their right mind is literally going to say to you that the Marcus Simeon and Brandon Nimmo are up on the same caliber right now. I don't know. Either way, I just think that this is a very interesting deal. And I do frankly think that the Juan Soto deal is killing the Mets. I said this last year, earlier this year. I said this 765. When did I say this? I said this does have the potential to backfire tremendously, because now they basically have put. Have you also, kid, consider this? Ever since the Juan Soto deal, have we seen any 15-year deals? Have we seen any $700 million deals? Even $600 million deals? You could argue that that Vladdy set the market back on track when he accepted $500 million for his tenure. Because ain't nobody getting them big, because most folks are looking like ain't nobody's gonna pay for set. I don't know. He ain't be good that long. And how you gonna trade him after 8 years when he becomes a DH and ain't necessarily hitting it off like that? Now, the real thing that makes this kind of nasty is that the Juan Soto deal put Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, and at odds. If you're dealing with if you're at a team and you're thinking that, hey, I am the leader of this team, as most folks were saying was the case with regard to Francisco Lindor and his poise, his ability to walk the bases like he'd done it before, his ability to lead the team by example, not by words, the big smile, the energy, the synergy, the congratulations to everybody whenever anybody does well, not just on the face value, but evidently even in the dugout, even in the locker room. And then you have to basically walk second fiddle to a dude that came over from across the street who's getting paid twice as much as you. All right. But you're still looked at as the guy who's supposed to bring the team morale up. You're probably like, yo, look, man, they paying you twice as much. I shouldn't have to do the boost up the team's morale and try to get hits. Where are you at? Why don't you do all that? Are you going to step in his leadership role? Now, in Juan Soto's defense, we don't know if he's like, low, bro, this ain't my team. Like, I'm not just going to come in here and just tell y'all what to do. I'm not going to come in here and just sweep y'all off y'all feet with my vibe. All right. Maybe he, in his, way of thinking, is like, yo, look, I'm not here to make waves. I'm not here to be your leader. I'm not here to galvanize support. I'm not here to encourage you. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to win. I'm here to win. That is the only reason I'm here. And for that, I will come to work. I will do my work. I will hit my hits, get my walks, take my at bats, and then I will go home. Y'all got to do y'all job. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Juan Soto did that. He ended the year, even though they didn't put him on the All-Star team, he ended the year with fairly decent stats. And that's saying a lot, seeing as how he didn't even actually have a good start. So at the latter half of the year, we find Juan Soto back in his good in the good at-bats that he used to have, where he's not swinging freely. He's back to that good plate discipline that we know him for. But I don't think this is a problem that's going away, folks. I don't think that this is something that a dinner can fix. I don't think you could just say, you know what, man? Hey, man, let me take you out for a game of miniature golf, and let's me and you talk it out, and let's see who's the actual leader of this team. I don't think this one works like that, folks. I think what we have here is two folks button heads, a Dominican and a Puerto Rican, and I get the sense that they may not necessarily be able to hash this one out. So I'm sad to say, Mets fans, your trials may not be over. I suspect, because we know Soto ain't going nowhere, and he's got a lot more years on his contract than Francisco Lindor has, or that Mendy has. Shoot, hell, he might be there longer than Steve Cohen. You know what I'm saying? So I think that Frankie could very well be looking to go somewhere else, man, and yield that whole leadership position to Juan Soto, so he ain't got to worry about whether or not he's going back and forth with somebody no more. And the word on the street is if Frankie Lindor goes somewhere, then that might as well be over to San Diego with this homeboy Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis. Since Xavier's since Bogarts is getting a little older now, and they could use a shortstop, probably move him over to third. Not third, but second, because Manny's at third. I do suspect you guys that you will probably be looking at, as a result of Juan Soto just being Juan Soto, you're probably going to be looking at a new member of the San Diego Padres. Maybe not immediately, but at some point in time in the future, this marriage is going to end, because I don't think it was ever good to begin with. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But yeah, man, I do, for the record, once again, believe that you don't want to go blaming just one person. You want to blame this whole debacle. And when I say I blame Juan Soto, I don't mean him, the person. I mean the whole deal. If Juan Soto got paid half as much, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But the Juan Soto deal, I think that Steve Cohen and them thought that this was going to be the magic wand that got the Mets over the hump, because they did get to the playoffs the year before. But then they get Juan Soto, and then they don't even make it to the playoffs. And now they have less tools than they even had in 2025. So this is going to be a very, very interesting watch. I can't wait to see if the Mets make any more moves this season. Hopefully they do, because this, my friends, ain't it. All right, let's go ahead and keep the vibe going. That's just a couple of topics real quick. That will go a little bit further than I expected, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and talk, my friends. So, another thing that happened while I was here at the winter meetings was I was able to view firsthand. Oh, I didn't upload it. Shoot. I was able to view firsthand the draft. Well, at least the pick, the what do they call it? Like when they pick the draft, the last, the whatever, so the lottery. I don't know, whatever. And I got to see it. It was pretty cool. Let me see if I find it in here, because I might have forgot to put it in here. Is that it? Ooh. Oh, you can't pause these. Oh, here it is. I found it. Okay, cool. I am going to, you know what? I'll put it on there with the sound and everything. So what we learned is that the draft lottery did not give the St. Louis Cardinals the first pick like it did a couple years ago, or last, or not even not last year. I think a couple years ago. What it did do was it gave some of the teams that aren't necessarily doing so well right now an opportunity to get a first round draft pick. Now, when I ask you what team is not doing that well right now, what are the first teams that come to mind? I'll tell you what some of the first teams that come to mind are. First teams that come to my mind is the Colorado Rockies, the Chicago White Sox, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Marlins. All right, these are some of the teams that didn't necessarily had the best last couple of years. So those are the ones that I would expect to probably want this draft pick the most. So out of those teams, the news has already been broken, so it's not like you don't already know. But which one, if you don't know, do you think actually got that first round draft pick? I'm going to give you 5 seconds to decide. All right. And then I'm going to give you a real quick drum roll. Which one? Well, if you don't know, now you know. Here it is right here. I think I'll go ahead and play it for you as soon as it hello, any day now if you want to. All right, well, anyway, the point was, the first round draft pick was, I'll go ahead and spoil it. It went to the White Sox, okay? It went to the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox ended up getting the first draft pick in the lottery. All right. And I was going to show you what it looked like in that facility as I was there for that time. Now, one of my favorite Chicago White Sox outside of Ozzie Guillen, outside of Frank Thomas, all right, is AJ Pierzynski. And I got a chance to speak with AJ Pierzynski for a little bit and get his opinion. Oh man, I need to get my teeth clean. And get his opinion. I think I just had some coffee right before that. And get his opinion on what it is that now that the White Sox have had their first round lottery draft pick, does this mean anything? Let's ask him and find out. Here with Foul Territory's own AJ Pierzynski. What's going on?
How we doing in Orlando? Home game.
Yeah, man. It feels good to be home, right?
Yeah, it is, but it's still, I'm worn. It doesn't mean I'm not worn out from 3 days. If you've been here all 3 days, you know how hard this is. It's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of coffee in the area. Well, I really want to talk to you about this, man. Last night, we got a chance to see your White Sox get that #1 draft.
Yeah.
Does this change the tide now? Will we finally go from 41 wins to 81?
I hope so. Hell, they win 41 games again. Everyone needs to be fired from that team. So yeah, they got better last year. They got to in the 50s, or 60. I don't forget how many they won, but they did. They had a huge improvement, right? So the White Sox are on their way. They got good players. They made some good trades. Now, can they finish it off? Go out and sign some free agents. The number one pick's probably going to be the shortstop from UCLA. Everything I've heard, he's almost a can't-miss guy. So it helps. Every good player you get helps the organization in the long run. So get more good players.
You think this will be the year, though? I mean, what do you think?
This year? This year? Not this year, but yeah, maybe 2 years from now they'll have a chance.
All right, so 2 years from now, AJ says they may just have a chance. Why? Well, I would say probably because they've got some good players right now. They got they got Cal Till, they got Chase Mydroff, who I'm a big fan of. I think Chase Mydroff is so underwhelmingly underspoken, undersung. Like, the dude, he's short, but the dude is fast. He hits. I mean, he don't hit homers, but he at least, it's fun to watch Chase Mydroff. I'm just going to say that much. And of course, obviously, you got Lubob out there in center field, who folks are still surprised that he's still with the White Sox because he should have been traded. But I don't think his confidence is to the roof. So I hope they have a better year this year and he's able to get the money he deserves, because Lubob, Louis Robert Jr. from Cuba, I think is an underrated player. Well, I don't know about underrated, but maybe he just ain't at his potential right now. So let's hope that the White Sox, that AJ Brzezinski's White Sox, do something a little better this upcoming year. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get a chance to see them capitalize.
Which one will be the number one overall pick? It's time to start at number 2. Team with the second overall pick. Which means the number one pick in the upcoming MLB draft goes to the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox will land the top pick.
That's so good for y'all, man. Congratulations, and hopefully that works out well for you. Now, just go ahead and wrap things up real quick, because there's so much stuff that I didn't really talk about. Like, I didn't really get a chance to talk with y'all about what it is that I got to speak with Katie Wu about, who is now going to be reporting for the Dodgers instead of the St. Louis Cardinals. I actually even got a chance to speak with Chip Caray of the Caray fame, who is the who calls the St. Louis Cardinals games for MLB Network and whatnot. And I also even got a chance to speak with, I showed a little bit of this yesterday, but Eric Davis, big bat with the Cincinnati Reds. And he was talking about how he actually was in on the Schwarber deal, even though he didn't want to admit that they had put up some money for it. I'm a little upset I didn't get to talk to Devin Williams, because I saw him after I had left, but at least I got a chance to speak with Cliff and all of them. And in addition to Cliff and all of them, I also got to speak with none other than the one and only Dusty Baker, like I told y'all before. Now, I got to tell y'all this story real quick, and then I'll go ahead and let y'all get on up out of here, man. This is, like I said, I try to keep these as short as I can. So the Dusty Baker thing was funny to me, bro. Because, okay, let me tell you the story about how I stumbled upon Dusty Baker. So just picture it. Sicily, 1946. Nah, let me stop. So I'm going around basically as a representative of MLB Bros, and of course our podcast On the Black. We cover baseball like chocolate with flavor. Hallelujah. And then I couldn't help but notice I seen Dusty Baker. This ain't my first time seeing him. I've seen him a few times, and he's cool to talk to you if he's in the right mood. So I saw Dusty Baker in a corner with a bunch of black dudes looking like they was at the cigar bar watching the girls go by. Now, that's not what they was doing. They wasn't watching no girls. They was in their corner chilling. But it was so fascinating to me, because it was like, where are the cards? Where are the dominoes? It felt like a little team, like of OG baseball players that was sitting there looking like, man, look at it, man. And when I was back in my day, it would have been, you know what I'm saying? Having one of them little powwows, right? And I was intimidated. I'm gonna keep it real. I was a little intimidated. I was like, I don't know if I want to go talk to them. Finally, I mustered up the courage and I went over and talked to Dusty. I said, "What up, Dusty?" He said, "What's up there, young man?" I said, "Hey, man, it's good to see you." I said, "What is this? Is this like a league of? Is this like the black baseball corner or something?" I was like, "I feel like I should have got the invite." He said, "Man, sit on down, man. Take a seat, man. Pull on up." I was like, now I had my daughter with me, so she was helping me record things. So I was like, oh, I got my daughter with me. Say, hey, young lady, take a seat, take a seat. She took a seat. I took a seat. I sit right next to Dusty Baker. Now, how it goes with me is when I see somebody that I want to interview, I ask them politely, hey, listen, you got a couple moments? Can I speak to you for, 3-4 questions, maybe 5 minutes at the most? They either say yay or nay. Only got turned down twice. Once by Hein Bloom. All right. And it was kind of like, I can't right now. To get with my people and we'll set something up. And the other one was that reporter guy, Joel Sherman. All right. He's like, nah, I can't talk to you right now. And he was nice about it, but he did look busy. But for Dusty, I was like, man, can I holler at you? He's like, man, I'm drinking. And he sure was. He had a nice little glass of yak right there with him. And him and his boys was cutting the food, bro. They were just sitting there, man, look at this motherfucker right here. This motherfucker's some bullshit over here. All this is some bullshit. These motherfuckers lying. And then, they sounded like, they sounded legitimately like angry old men. It was funny to me. It was funny. And I just was like, man, Dusty, man, what's the problem? And he's like, man, the problem is everybody around here fake. All of this is fake. Everything is fake. He's like, man, I just went up to the broom, because you know what I'm saying? I work with the Giants, and I went up there, man, and there was one black guy, and there was one Latino, and there was 30 people in there. And I was like, tell me how you really feel. He's like, man, it's all just fake. It's just fake. I was like, okay, it's fake. Well, this is when it started getting interesting to me. I say, Dusty, so you work with the Giants? He's like, yeah, but I manage a team in Nicaragua. I say, Dusty, Nicaragua is South America. Obviously, you speak Spanish? He said, sí, yo hablo. I said, oh, tú hablas español. He said, sí. I said, entonces yo puedo hablar con usted en español todo el tiempo, si es mejor, o ¿qué es mejor, inglés o español? He's like, oh, young man. He's like, oh, inglés es mi preferencia, pero yo puedo hablar español también. Porque necesito hablar español, pues, mejor para negocios. I said, you're damn right it is, homeboy. So we just had like a whole little black person, like American black guy. I learned Spanish conversation. I learned that he learned Spanish in 3 years. I also learned Spanish in 3 years. Of course, I'm not an expert, but you ain't gonna talk trash about me in my face and I don't know about it. All right. And we kind of bonded over that. And I got to get everybody in the area's number except for him. But I got to tell you, man, that was one of the funniest experiences. I really am a little upset that I wasn't able to show it to y'all on camera because I thought it was so funny how he was being so candid. And I mean, not funny in the sense like, but just like, I don't know. It was just a genuine moment. I enjoyed it. And I honestly think that if y'all were able to see it, y'all probably would have laughed at it a little bit as well. But it is what it is. All right, man. Listen, let me go ahead and wrap this up. I have one more thing to show y'all, and then I will go ahead and close this out. This one right here is something that happened just before the end of the day on Tuesday, which was the first day. Now, as you all may know, Dylan Cease, who I also think looks a little bit like Captain Morgan, did actually show up to the winter meetings as well, because he is now officially a pirate, if I'm not mistaken. And a pirate, I'm sorry, I said pirate. I said pirate just because he's on the screen looking like a pirate, but no, he's not a pirate. He's a Blue Jay now, right? He's officially a Blue Jay. So I got a chance to see him right after he did his press conference and got to ask him one question. Now, you know me, I only ask the tough questions, boss. Only the tough questions. So I had to make sure he was ready, because a hardcore media journalist like me, I'm going to hit you with them hard balls, bro. So I synced them, and I was like, hey, Dylan Cease, let me ask you something right quick, homeboy.
Do you keep the facial hair in Toronto?
I like to mix it up. It'll be there at some point.
Boom! Boom! What you know about that? Boom! Boom! You know about that good journalism, boy? Pop, 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 pop. Boom! Boom. Who else gonna give you that hardcore news like this, bro? Who else gonna let you know that Dylan Cease may or may not rock his facial hair when he gets over to the Blue Jays? Huh? Where else you gonna get hardcore evidence like that, homeboy? You know what I'm talking about? You ain't gonna see that nowhere else. Who else has the nerve to ask these kind of questions? I ask the hardcore questions. I'm so stupid. All right. Well, anyway, listen, it's definitely been fun, man. I'm gonna go ahead and let this one ride. There's plenty more to discuss, and I look forward to more news in the future. As for today, we already know what it is. And this week, the news we've been blessed with is crazy. So one time for Cal for getting his deal, one time for Pete for getting his deal, one time for Edwin Diaz getting his deal, one time for Dylan going on head over to the Blue Jays, one time for Rice Sale, who's still with the Braves, and for Robert Suarez, who's still with the Braves, and one time for AJ Brzezinski, who got a first-round draft pick in the White Sox, who is his team. Thank you. One time for Russell Dorsey, who did give me an interview. One time for the John Boy dudes, who gave me one as well. One time for Eric Davis. One time for my dudes, Cliff and Xavier Scruggs, and of course OG Dusty Baker for blessing me with the not even an interview, but the ill time that he spent. And shout out to MLB Bros, especially my homeboy JR and the homie Rob Parker for giving the boy access. This was definitely a cool thing. My daughter had a good time, but not the last, of course. We definitely have plenty more to accomplish with our the MLB Bros platform, as well as here with On the Black. So let's go ahead and keep this thing going, y'all. I sincerely appreciate each and every last one of y'all. If you even peeked in, thank you so much. Make sure you follow, like, and comment. Please comment, because I literally started this up so I can have more friends to talk to about baseball. All right, man, I'm going to go ahead and peep y'all. I think I'll be back next week. Unless there's any news that pops off tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and come on here tomorrow again. We'll see. Whether or not I do depends on you. Do me a favor, like, subscribe. And by the way, real quick announcement on the Black tip. I will be sometime soon, as I have decided to, I will go ahead and make an On the Black YouTube page. Right now, for those that are watching, you're watching this on my YouTube, but I want to go ahead and make a YouTube page specifically for On the Black so that I can go ahead and I don't know what all you heard, but yeah, like I said, if you could do me a favor and give me a good like, give me a follow, give me a subscribe, because I will be now doing this on my YouTube page. Not mine, not the real Vince Taylor, not the New Blurred Order, but On the Black baseball, covered with flavor, like chocolate. Hallelujah. So make sure y'all follow, like, subscribe. And I don't usually beg, and I ain't begging, but please comment. Shoot me a comment just so I know I'm not speaking to the moon. Okay? Pull on up. It's your boy, the real Vince Taylor. Shout out to MLB Bros once again. Shout out to Rob Parker and everybody who showed your boy love. Big up to everybody who love baseball just as much as me. We're going to catch y'all on the flip side. Let go. Baseball. On the Black. Covered with flavor like chocolate.